Hello everyone, this is Raptorial. There is currently a heat wave raging across the American Midwest, which may very well be a result of, or at the very least, a side effect of the gigantic spread of fires and volcanic eruptions going on in the Americas. An article from MSN News talks about how hot, dry winds have fueled fires across California. This is an aerial image of California and the cloud of smoke from the fires burning over California. Looks like the border of California is this entire, wow, that is a gigantic area. So, yeah, those were some serious fires. If you remember early on in the year, when Southern California was drenched in giant mudslides, and if you don't recall, I made a video back in January about all that. You can find it on my channel. I'll link to it in the comments below. The conditions for those mudslides were created and worsened after wide-ranging fires had ravaged the vegetation on the hill slopes. And if you're familiar with the effect of vegetation on slopes, riverbanks, and cliff faces, what plant roots do is they act as an anchor. They hold soil in place, but when plants are burned away by fires or cleared, and it can be particularly bad when there's a several-year dry wave or heat wave, as there has been for some time, because then all the plants are dry and then they're extremely susceptible to fires, and so they either die or they just burn away, or they just catch fire like crazy as soon as the fire is ignited. And so the roots die, and so they're no longer acting as that anchor. So when the storms come, the entire hills, without the anchor that the plant roots provide, just collapse, and then you get the giant landslides and mudslides. And that's exactly what happened. Forests also have an effect that I need to do some more reading on to fully understand, but they actually have a precipitation increasing effect on a region, provided there's a significant amount there. A few cacti in a desert won't do much of anything, but forests will bring more moisture to a region. So, one thing you can do if you're truly worried about global warming and or drying is to, rather than harass the EPA Administrator, which one very cruel woman recently did, is to, say, plant more trees, plant flower gardens, plant pollinator gardens. Those are actually proactive and effective things you can do. And, you know, planting plants and taking care of your local parks and forests will improve carbon sequestration. That is the removal of carbon gases from the atmosphere, as well as collect moisture and attract native birds and pollinating insects, particularly in regions that are still more wet than the American Southwest, the Midwest, the Northeast, and the Southeast regions. Rather than screaming at the government to solve all the problems, because they have enough to deal with. All right, what we want to do right now is decrease the reach of the government, and I mean that's also going to mean that they are going to be able to deal with less, but we actually want them to deal with less. We want them to deal with the important stuff. Sorry. Of course, environmental care and ecological concerns are important, but we have bigger priorities for the government right now. Well, we have other priorities for the government right now. Sorry. You know, this last election was about things a little bit more immediate than than global warming. You know, people really don't understand. People who don't understand ecology, meteorology, climatology, people who haven't really spent time studying the intricacy of that don't understand how immensely complex it is. A million different factors affecting so many, and this drying of regions, one of the things that it did happen to North America in the 18th and 19th centuries was the mass cutting of forests, but the forests have largely regrown. Now that they are not the same old-growth forests, and some forests are still more new than others, there are not a whole lot of places left where there are truly old-growth forests, but there are places, there are regions where there are forests a couple hundred years old, even. And so, preserve what remains. Because once a region suffers massive aridification, a region that was not, a region that's been getting more and more arid and is suffering wildfires. I mean, unfortunately, California is going to hell in so many ways. It was basically turned over to a leftist state government forever, and California has been collapsing for decades. It was turned over to majority leftists, state government decades ago, and it's been collapsing for decades. So, and they want to take power on the national level. Yeah, that's not going to work with the current if they do it, they will tear the entire country apart. I mean, you think it's apart now. It can get so much worse, and it can get to a point where it would take centuries to recover. If it ever does. We don't want to get there. So we want to remove the power of the government. We actually want to take into our own hands the revival of the North American ecology. We really do. Now, what does that mean on the national park level? I wonder if those can be privately funded, or we can have some private equivalent of preserving. I'll do some brainstorming on that. As for Hawaii, what I know about that, I was going to keep following the Hawaii eruption. And I did read about it. It's been going on for a little over 2 months now. Kilauea is still erupting. the the layout of the lava flows and where those have spread look much the same. They've expanded. Kilauea is one of only 5 volcanoes. It is the southeastmost of the volcanoes of the Big Island. And the Kilauea region has become almost, well, I think it's become almost entirely uninhabitable for the meantime. It will recover eventually. I think it's almost impossible to fly near there. There are some more pictures. I can look for some more pictures tomorrow. I do have more topics to cover tomorrow. If I can get around to it, I'm going to be going on a short kind of vacation. Also, also to do a lot of talks about possible jobs, but and I will do another 4th of July video. But there was a story today of a woman who harassed the administrator of the EPA while he was having dinner. Not okay. Not okay. You cannot do that. You cannot harass people in their private life. All right? So, even though the Democrats are calling for people to do that, or saying it's okay to do that to people they disagree to, it's not. So, I mean that's why I hate that everything in life is becoming political. But if that is the world we have for the time being, I guess we have to try to just survive it. And I'm gonna try to help us survive it. But I need you to help me too, okay? And stop using so many chemicals and fertilizers everywhere, people who do that. And stop, another very simple thing. When you mow your lawn, and if you rake the leaves, if you mow your lawn, and the grass clippings too, if you haul away the fallen leaves on your lawn and grass clippings from lawn mowing and have them carried away, sent away, you realize that these dead grass pieces, I mean, in nature no one comes and mows the lawn, but you do have leaf litter falling. That's a very important part of particularly temperate forests. And dead grass. I mean, there's grass that dies seasonally and regrows. There is grass that goes dormant and regrows. Dead plant matter is nutrients. It's natural nutrient replenishing. So I've always found it, because this is exactly what it is, it's hypocritical for people to remove leaf litter and lawn litter from their lawns and then dump fertilizer on their lawns. First of all, first you removed the natural nutrient replenisher that naturally falls, and then you have to bring in nutrient replenishing. You realize that's hypocritical, right? You just leave the stuff there, you know, and if you have to break it up with mulching more, or just leave dead matter there, it will replenish the nutrients in your lawn, and that is what the soil is naturally adapted to draw its nutrients from in your region, provided you use it from the same region, which is also why you don't want to bring in extra fertilizer. You don't know where it's coming from. Not really. And a lot of this fertilizer ends up going into the into the groundwater and into the streams. And that extra nutrients, when it gets into the hydrology and gets into the rivers, it gets into the lakes, that's what feeds the algal blooms, or makes them far, far worse than they would in normal seasons. So stop doing all that, and you'll massively cut down on the algal blooms. And farms, I don't know if farms can completely avoid it, but they should certainly really cut down on it. There are things, rather than harass people, rather than scream, the government's got to change everything, solve everything. There are things you can do that if people did just a little bit more of, and and it's tricky to replant forests, especially if the this is why tropical rainforests will take centuries to regrow, if they ever do. The problem with the rainforests is that they are so rich in the plants and animals that that the soil needs to feed, that the nutrients don't stay in the soil for very long. So the tropical rainforests build up almost no nutrient-rich soil layer because it's all absorbed so quickly. But temperate forests, like in North America, or I don't know if California doesn't have any temperate forests, but it does have forests. It does have. We clearly see them burning. There are little things. Planting plants, planting gardens, learning about these nutrient cycles. Do little things yourself instead of harassing people and telling people that who are focused on other priorities that they don't care enough. Stop that. We can, if we're serious about saving the planet, we'll never do it by screaming at each other. We'll do it by being smart about it. And being smart means negotiating, means doing things yourself when you can. So I will try to help us through this, but you've got to help me too, okay? I will, so I don't know exactly when my next video will be. I will try to do one tomorrow, and I will try to do one on the 4th of July, and probably another American-themed one. Till then, this is Kestrel Raptorial. See you soon.